Why, hello, everyone. Welcome to Jolene's Happy Time Craftcast. I am indeed Joleen, and it is wonderful to welcome you on this Wednesday when we are having this conversation. Things in Minnesota are great. They are so great. We have been busy with retreats at Big Raven Farm. We have a few spots left in a couple that are coming up. So if attending a 4-day, 3-night retreat is something on your list of things you'd like to do, we would love to have you come and spend time with us. So in the show notes, we will be sure to link our retreats page. And so you can see what we have coming up. We have pick your projects, crochet, art journaling, eco printing. The chef's cooking retreat did sell out. Congratulations to him. But we will be dropping another one for 2026. So thank you for all of your support in that area. It means the world to us. So thank you. So today, what are we going to talk about today, and who are we going to talk about it with? As always, I'm very excited to welcome today's guest, Deborah D'Onofrio. She is an intuitive guide, shamanic energy worker, Reiki master, mixed media artist, writer, meditation teacher, and she supports women on their healing and creative journeys. And she has a couple of things to talk to us about that we haven't talked about before on the Happy Time Craftcast. So I'm going to be asking her about those things. And one of them is slow stitching. And so it's something that I can't wait to learn more about. And so we've just got so many questions for her. So let me pull her up so that you can welcome her as you do with so much graciousness and love. So thank you. Here she is. Hey, Deborah.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to diving into some fun conversation with you.
Awesome. So when you, and I've got one right off the bat, let me just
Yeah,
throw them at
let's
you.
go.
So when you tell people about who you are and what you do, what is your elevator pitch? Like, what do you say?
Hmm. Well, it's been changing, I would say, especially in the last, say 4 years or so, because
Yeah.
I had a life-changing experience when I woke up one morning going blind and I found out that I had a huge brain tumor. And so, as you can imagine, anybody, when you go from living one kind of life to a
Yeah.
radically different kind of life,
Yeah.
everything changes. So, luckily, with the surgery that I had, immediately, I had my vision restored to me, which was huge.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you give up your life to somebody else, it's like, okay, this surgeon has got to know what he's doing. Hopefully, I'm
Right.
going to wake up and I'm going to see and I'm going to be able to function and that, everything is going to move forward in a good way,
Yeah.
which it did. So, thankfully, now almost 4 years later, next month, well, in a couple of weeks, it's going to be 4 years since the surgery. But what happened was, when you face your mortality, because he wasn't able to remove all of the tumor, I actually am still on a healing journey with it.
Okay.
You really have to put your trust in something that's a little bit bigger than you, you
Sure.
know? And so I did. And one of the wonderful things that happened with that was I really got more in touch with my art practices, with my art
Yeah.
journaling, with my writing. My intuition kind of went off of the Richter scale because I was doing a lot of inside work. I was spending a lot of time in me.
Mhm.
And I think anybody that probably has a chronic illness or has faced a life challenge knows it really has the ability to make you question things, look at
Mhm.
things, reorient yourself in terms of your, you know, what kind of relationship am I going to have with myself now going forward?
Right.
What kind of relationship am I going to have with people, with places, with things? What's important to me? What don't I need anymore? Do I really need to move this fast? Can I slow down and really appreciate my life and the
Yeah.
people in it and the things that I value? You just look at everything again and you're like, all right, what has meaning and how do I want to go about this? So my art journaling was really one of those things that I'd done it for a bunch of years. Mixed media art. I mean, you're a mixed media artist, right? So
Mhm.
anything goes, which is, I
Anything goes.
love it.
It's a great lane.
Right. So
Yeah.
this maybe isn't the elevator pitch, but the short answer is when life changes, you have choices, right?
Yeah.
And how do you want to live your life? And so for me, it means very intentionally,
Mhm.
very creatively, artfully, authentically,
Mhm.
and intuitively connected to nature. And I share all of those tools that I learned and
Yeah.
deepened And now they're like my toolkit that I teach every woman that I connect with about. These are the
Mhm.
ways that you can live, freely, wildly, authentically, no matter what,
Right.
you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, what a thing to experience. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with us. That must have been absolutely terrifying. And secondly, I'm glad you are well and I'm glad you are here. And also, I can identify with the lessons that come from a life changing event. I don't know that I've talked about it on the show, but I've certainly talked about it in other places. I too, in 2016, had my own dumpster fire. I was in a
Mm.
really bad accident and I was at risk of having my leg amputated. And it took me a year to recover, to be able to walk again and, practice yoga and do all the things that are really important to me. But what happened in the course of that year, I mean, it changed my life in physical ways, but it also changed the direction and trajectory in my life 1000%. Because while I was laid up, I had a lot of time to think and plan and dream and connive. And because of that time and space, as you were talking about, that intentional and deliberate discussion, we were able to form the ideology for our second company, Big Raven Yoga. And so Big Raven Yoga happened during that time. And then because of the growth and success of Big Raven Yoga, we were then able to, take the next step and buy Big Raven Farm, where we host retreats and have this whole life that's about, self care and helping people take really good care of themselves as we take care of them. So I 1000% understand what you're saying about when life slows you down, right? I wasn't like riding on my bike and, I wasn't like, it's a good idea. Let's crash this thing and you know,
Right.
and be laid up for a year. And I'm sure, with you, when they said brain tumor, I am sure, because like for me in the emergency room, when they said that I had to have 4 surgeries and I would be, unable to walk for a year, I kind of just kept shaking my head, going, what? What?
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
made no sense to me. Does that
Right.
resonate with you?
It does. I remember being in the emergency room for the second time and
Hmm.
getting the MRI, which the emergency room doctor came out and was coming to me and
Yeah.
telling me this. And I'm looking around thinking, this has got to be somebody else's news. This
Right.
cannot be for me.
Exactly.
This can't be about me and my body. And then they
Yes.
were like, no, that this is you. And this is
Yep.
why you can't see right now. And so, yeah, it's like this amazing surreal out of body twilight
Yes.
zone experience. And then when it is
Absolutely.
you, like it's like you don't have a lot of time. Like being in an accident, it's like you're not necessarily you're making decisions, maybe not. It's like this
Right.
has to happen,
Hmm.
to preserve you, to save you, you have to have this happen, and
Correct.
so I had to get transported up to a city hospital because where we lived, like we have the best surgeons in the world, some of the best
Sure.
in Boston. So sure, but there wasn't a bed available for me at first. So I had to
Hmm.
wait, until there was, and I didn't, you can go there or you can keep waiting, but you're going to be further at risk, if
Right.
you don't go for it. But the bottom line is that,
Hmm.
like I probably wasn't thinking about the timing of what I'm doing now. Like maybe
No.
it would have been a bigger radar somewhere, but kind of like you said, you weren't riding your bike having an epiphany. It's like, I
No.
need to do this. If I want to do
Right.
it, I better do it.
Like I need a
Yeah.
change, right? I need a change. So let's
Yeah.
crash this thing and like
Yeah.
just see what we get. When
Right.
when I was in the emergency room and like I kept repeating in my head, I kept like all I kept saying and thinking was, I just went out for ice cream. Like I just went out like I didn't do anything except want, a double scoop. Like I didn't do anything. And so and of course, that didn't, that conversation doesn't last very long. But I guess,
Yeah.
the point is too, like, and I hear my yoga friends say this a lot. I don't know if my art friends say it as much, but my yoga friends have an expression that they say a lot, which is if you don't slow down, your body will. and your body keeps score. So do what you will, girl, but but the universe has a way of keeping us in balance. I would
Yeah.
imagine you agree with this.
Well, living in the Boston area,
Yeah.
it's a high energy place, and I
Yeah.
live in a busy suburb. Luckily, we're on 7 acres, so there's a lot of nature around us, which is really thankful,
Yeah.
because fox, deer,
Yeah.
owls, all kinds, which is really grounding and really kind of restorative.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel like that's one of the things, especially as women, we try to be all things
Hmm.
all the time. And
Uh-huh.
like you said, it's a losing equation. It doesn't work. It just does
Right.
not work. As much as we might want to do all the things,
Right.
we can't do them all at once, right? And
Well,
I think we miss out on a lot too when we're here,
yeah.
instead of like not dropping down to the heart or even listening to the body.
Sure.
It's like, all right, later, and then
Yeah.
things do shift to say, no, not later, now.
Right, exactly. And right now, like right
Yeah.
exactly now. So help us connect then, like how this experience has moved into your art
Mm,
practice, your artsy craftsy working with your hands. Like
yeah.
what is the outcome? Like who are you now?
It's a great question, because I think sometimes, like, I've noticed some creatives who have
Mhm.
had challenging illnesses where they sort of ignore the illness, and they're just like, no, I'm going to get back to what I was doing. This is just a blip on my radar. Like, I did
Sure.
not choose that path at all. I was like,
Yeah.
what can I learn? This is a teacher, clearly. And being an intuitive, being an
Mhm.
empath, being a healer, it's like, it might sound crazy. I don't know. Maybe you thought of it this way too, but it's like, this is a really rich learning opportunity if I allow it to be that.
Mhm.
And I was like, I want to get everything I can from it. So one thing I did, I think I started to mention this and then I got off track, was that I really wanted to do more art journaling. And I was like, I really want to publish. I want to be able to feel like I accomplished a goal that I set. Because if I am facing my mortality, I'd really regret not doing that. So I had a
Right.
group of friends be like my accountability buddies. And I said, I have this magazine that I love, and you probably know it. I mean, there's a lot of them, but the first one I chose was Art Journaling Stampington.
Yeah.
You know them. So what I did was I said, I want to make a journal. I want to submit it. I want you to help me get to the finish line. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So
Yeah.
I did. And I checked in with them every week and, plotted my progress, because it was so overwhelming to me, the
Sure.
idea of like, oh my gosh, that's so huge. But I really would have felt disappointed if I didn't even at least try. So I think sometimes what happens is we have something that maybe before it might have been like, not now, or that's too scary. And it becomes like, why not? What have you got to lose?
Sure.
Right?
Mhm.
And it's like,
Mhm.
go for it. Go
Yeah.
for it.
So
And
you
so,
jumped into art journaling.
art journaling and mixed media, yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
I love mixed media because anything goes. Like we said, anything goes. And so one of
Yeah.
the things, like I'll show you, is this is the journal that I submitted, and
Closer.
okay, so there it
Oh,
is.
nice. So for those of you listening, it is a spiral bound art journal, and it has a bird on the cover and lots of tabs and like stuff
Yeah.
sticking out and stuff hanging out, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah.
it was a chance I wrote about the brain tumor journey because it was
Sure.
like an unexpected journey, right? And like,
Mhm.
for those of us that love, cutting up pages, there's some
We love,
split
oh, look at that
pages,
idea. So a split page. I love that. So it's
there's
cut
little
in half.
secrets. Yeah. It's
Nice.
little stories. There's so many things. I mean, we could
Yeah,
talk
of
about
course.
collage. There's little tabs and slow stitching, which is nothing more than taking a piece of embroidery thread and
Yep.
taking an awl and sticking it through your page and sewing
Nice.
back and forth however you want, cross stitch, running stitch, seed stitch, which is just kind of crazy chaotic stitching
Mhm.
however you want. It really, the
So
thing
your
about it is it's super freeing.
your technique there, listeners, is like, make sure we're getting this, is that when
Yeah.
you are adding embroidery floss to paper, you want to pre-punch either with a paper piercer or an awl so that you're not either tearing your paper or making like raises in it, I would imagine. Um,
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
love this idea of adding thread. And how many, what do you do for your thread count there? Do you keep it at like the 6 ply that it comes in, or do you make it thinner?
It's a good question because it really depends on what's on the page. Sometimes
Sure.
I'll start in a blank book. It's
Yeah.
totally intuitive.
Yeah.
I might just, I want to use white. I just randomly pick a page and start sewing either 3 or 6 or, um, maybe it'll be 4, whatever. I don't
Sure.
have like a set. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. It's just whatever I feel like doing. And
Right.
then it's really cool because, when you come back with paint or you come back, like I love antique and vintage fabrics. I love linen and
Me too.
muslin.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll tea dye them or, put alcohol ink. And then the pages in the story, even though like in this one, I was talking about my unexpected journey with the brain tumor, there's another story that the book starts telling as it becomes itself. So I'm
Okay.
thinking I have this idea of what I want to do, but then
Yep.
there's this other thing that comes out of me that I'm not planning.
Right.
And so these things just kind of come together. I don't think it's random. I think it really is intuitive.
Sure.
So, it could be 3 threads. It could be
Sure.
6 threads. It could be, I tend to go with neutral
Yeah.
and kind of monochromatic. I'm not the bright color person so much. So, on one day I may be, geez, I want to kind of mix these up, or I really just want to do like white or black or
Right.
beige. And then it's like, wow, a circle really wants to happen around this squiggle, so I'm going to just like outline around that. So, I mean, as artists and creatives, it is definitely the thing that I would encourage your listeners and your
Yeah.
viewers is just be free.
And
Just
play,
let
it
it go.
sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, play. You don't have to have a plan in place,
Yeah. I
to
love that.
begin. Because sometimes I think that can be super scary is a whole empty
Hmm.
book and what am I going to do with this thing?
Right.
You
Or am I
know?
going to make a mistake? I think that's the other thing about
Right.
art journaling is that, like, it helps me anyway dial down on wall worthy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to frame this. I'm not going to hang it on the wall. I'm just going to experiment and play and enjoy, as you're saying, the intuitive process. But you did
Mhm.
say something that I know that my listeners would have caught, and you said alcohol ink. Can you rewind and
Mhm.
tell us what you're doing with alcohol ink and fabric? Because we love
Yeah.
ink.
Yeah. So, um, if you look at pretty much any of the pages, one of the things that's super fun, and of course you can do alcohol ink on paper, right? But I
Right.
love, especially on, um, I'm going to say again, like linen
Yeah.
or
Like muslin, maybe?
muslin. I like to just take the ink. I'm trying to find a page in this one. I think in my other journal, I think I'll show you this. I
Yeah.
have another one. So basically, you just dot. I mean, you can
Okay.
do little dots, or you can put um, a little bit of water, onto
Okay.
whatever your palette. Take a drop of the ink, and then put your brush in it and dilute it,
It's
and then
so
just kind of like landscape, swashes. You can do sort of vertical lines. I love to do that, and then you could go back and stitch on your lines if you want to.
I
You can
love
do
this.
negative space.
I
Goes
love
on and
this
on.
idea so much because, okay, so with the alcohol ink, are you using any kind of resist? Are you using alcohol? Are you just using straight out of the bottle, highly pigmented, right to the fabric?
I've
Yeah.
done both.
Okay.
And so say you want to start out with just taking the dropper bottle, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and just seeing what happens. And then you could come back and do some washes over it too to add depth. It's really so much fun. And again, I love I never know what I'm going to get.
Right, right. Because
Um,
I've got my brain, and I think a lot of my listeners do too. We've got our brains so kind of conditioned with alcohol ink and either Yupo paper or tile or a non-porous substrate. And then, so that it stays.
right.
And it's so highly pigmented, and I know it stains your hands, it makes a mess, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
never considered using it direct to fabric.
Try it. Yeah.
Because
Try
I've
it.
been so literal, like
Yeah.
I'm literally
Yeah.
supposed to use this on a a,
Yes.
a glossy surface.
Right. Well, and not only alcohol inks, but any ink, India ink,
Oh,
I
sure.
mean, it's unlimited. And what's really fun about doing it on fabric is it's kind of like you've probably just taken a sheet of scrap paper, like,
Yeah.
well, it could be anything, and just start squiggling lines of paint over it, right? Or,
Yeah.
it could be dots of paint. It could be
Yeah.
taking different
The
kinds of
marks.
brushes and just
Yeah.
make marks. You can do that with fabric also. Like
Hmm.
create backgrounds on a bigger piece of fabric that you're going to cut up and put into other things, whether it becomes like one of these little tabs, that you can
Right.
stick on and slow stitch around,
Yep.
or if it becomes part of a collage, a
Hmm.
mosaic on a page. I mean, that's the thing that is so fun about it, is that you might I love when I start out with an idea and it turns into something completely different, but I also
Oh, yeah.
love when my idea comes together and it's like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted.
Right.
They both happen and both so much fun. So
It sounds really fun. And
it
it
is fun.
also sounds like it sounds messy, which I'm not afraid of a mess. I love a mess. I'm down for that
Oh yeah.
anytime. That sounds amazing. So what are your thoughts then too? So I know that you also do some eco dyeing and printing, correct?
I do, like you.
Yeah. So
Yes.
talk to me about what you
Yeah.
do.
Well, I saw in Strawberry Moon that you and
Yes.
I work pretty similarly, but
Yes.
I've got a couple of things. It's always good to have pictures of things we do, right? So
Yeah.
this is a birch board, right? So birch
Okay.
board that I
Yep.
painted, and then here is actually an eco print that I made. I get
Okay.
things from my yard, probably like you. I don't know if you can
Yep.
see that, but the thing I love to do is to make moons, and so
Oh,
this moon
yeah.
is out of gouache. So, I layered it and did some speckling, but then I accentuated and made the leaves pop with graphite watercolors, and then just very gently, because they're very moody, and I love like that moodiness, and it
Okay.
kind
Whoa,
of gives
whoa.
sort of that, yeah, yeah,
Graphite watercolors. Deborah, what are you talking about?
yes, yes, I know. We're moving on now. We're moving on. You know
Graphite
what?
watercolors. Say more.
Graphite watercolors. I don't even know that much about them, except there's this artist, and I think her name is McCreef. Lynn McCreef is, I think she's a Scottish
Okay.
artist, and
Okay.
I love her work, and I've seen it in Art Journaling. This magazine that we all probably love. Yeah,
Yes.
and this, just by the way, is the article that I
Oh
ended up.
my God, there's your
Yeah,
book.
there's the book. Isn't that
Oh,
awesome? So you get to
that's
see it on the
awesome.
pages, but
Yes.
she is the one that got me turned on to that. And I mean, it was literally like maybe an $8, 5 or 6 colors,
Okay. Graphite.
Japanese company. Yeah. And
Okay.
I really like, again, washing, like on this piece, I
Mhm.
like layering up the colors. And this, believe it or not, was kind of like a lavender that
It's
the more
beautiful.
layers
It's
I
so
put on it,
creamy,
yeah,
creamy and blended and just, I love it.
subtle, and it does kind of,
Yes.
doesn't it feel like you're kind of sitting outside, like
Oh,
looking at the
definitely.
moon? It's
Definitely.
very atmospheric, which is what I like about these watercolors. And again, so that's on, um, I think it's 140 pound cold press paper,
Okay.
right? So it does a nice job on I like maybe a little bit of a thicker paper, the
Sure. Some
watercolor
texture.
paper. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love the texture, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then that's just adhered, and there's a few layers of matte medium over it, to kind of preserve it. But I
Sure. Keep
mean,
it stuck. Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can do so much with. I like the combination of the natural
Yeah.
materials, so between the watercolor paper, between the graphite watercolors, and then, I mean, the gouache probably isn't as natural, but it all,
Right.
it's subtle, it's calming, it kind of fits with what I need. I
Sure,
make art that fits me,
right, it
right?
matches the aesthetic. So it is always surprising to me as a crafty connoisseur when there's a supply that I haven't heard of. I'm almost taken
Yes.
back and almost offended. Like, what? I don't know about this. So graphite watercolors have completely like so we're saying it's a pan palette. Like I'm
Yeah,
just
it
gonna
is. It is. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. I love it so, so much.
And like a, any other watercolor you would use, except I find that the colors again are
Mhm.
very atmospheric, natural,
Sure.
moody, and you can apply them like I have applied them on fabrics, and they really well, again, natural fabrics. I haven't tried
Right.
synthetics, but natural fabrics is a nice composition pairing.
Yeah.
So
Do
people
you
might
have
really.
a favorite brand of graphite watercolors or
I do use it. It comes from Japan, but do I
okay.
remember the name of the company? I don't. I can get that to you, but
Oh,
there's it's only about half a dozen colors because I found that I really there are some sets that have more, but I just have found that I use those colors so much they
yes.
appeal. They make me happy. So those
Yeah,
are the ones that I go back
definitely.
to, over and over again. Yeah.
I
So they're
just so my youngest daughter is going to be 23 in a couple of weeks.
oh,
And she has been getting into watercolor.
oh,
And she's been watching tutorials and watching my friends who are, experts in this area. And so this past week, I made her a little to go bag. And Deborah, you would have thought that one of my kids was just elected president. I was so excited. I was so excited to create this little, bag for her.
yeah.
And my friend Lacey Walker, she wrote a really great book on watercolor. And so, I bought one for myself and then, Lacey sent me one. So I gave one of my copies to my daughter Georgie. And then my friend Barb introduced me to this book called it's like one a day.
Uh
Barb,
huh.
if you're here, what was that thing called? Do you know these? They're like
Yeah.
every day you make a
Mhm.
little blob or,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And as soon as Barb showed me hers, I was inspired and I had to have my own. And I did it for like 4 days and then I forgot about it. So I put that in Georgie's little bag and
Oh,
cold press. I did
yeah.
hot. I gave her a variety of like levels of watercolor. I gave her some
Yes.
Derwent and then like an Amazon palette. And then the big moment was we went to Blick and we got a little Daniel Smith palette. And we got the little one, like it's just
Yes.
teeny, teeny,
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah.
But we
Sample.
Yes, but we were both so excited to like
Oh
kind of have
yeah.
a quote unquote real supply.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
tell you, this moment of taking her to because she just went to the dollar spot at Target and got what she needed. But I just feel like, you know, I'm so excited about her interest. Um,
Yes.
and my kids were raised by me. They've been doing arts and crafts their whole life.
Right.
But for them to like, pick this and identify with because for Georgie, she talks about it as a part of her thriving. She's like, I'm thriving, mom. I'm doing watercolor. I'm going to the gym. I'm, healthy habits. But it's just that language of thriving as connected to her art practice where I'm like having a parenting moment. This is amazing.
Doesn't it feel amazing? Really?
Yes.
Because I don't know about you, but I definitely did not. Well, I didn't. Art was not a childhood thing. I mean, you did art class. You had like I knew that I enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that was
Mhm.
part of my life until I became an adult, where it was like, oh, I
Right.
cannot live without this. This needs to be part of my life.
Yeah.
So I wasn't one of those kids that I wasn't a feral creative until I got older. And now it's
I
like,
love that.
right, feral,
Oh my gosh, Deborah, is that
feral.
a t-shirt or anything? Because if not, I'm gonna take it. Like
Well,
I
I
will
like this one, but we do one. This
feral
one's
creative. I love that so
yeah,
much. It's how I
yeah. We need
feel,
to have one,
especially
right?
Oh, that's such
Do
a
you
great
not feel
answer.
right unless you're doing something creative? And it
Oh,
doesn't, so many times it doesn't even matter. Well, this is another thing that came from, this life challenge, is that
mhm.
everything can be creative.
Yeah.
Whether you're cooking a meal, setting the table, gardening,
Yeah.
and because like the creativity thing, I have to feel that every day or else
So do
I
I.
don't feel like me.
I feel a little lost and I feel a little wayward or unmoored.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Untethered. Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And even
Yeah.
if it's just like my language is, I have to be making something every day, even if it's just progress, even if it's
Mm.
just a little bit of progress. Because so one of my creative pursuits recently is, I'm an artist, of course, but I'm kind of a builder. Like I build
You
stuff,
are.
right?
You
Yeah.
you do.
And
Yeah.
so I've been building things with bookboard for a long time, and I've been trying to get some precision with that medium because you can't really cut it with a scissors. I mean, you can, but not a great line.
No.
I can cut it with a guillotine. I can cut it with a bandsaw. I can cut it with a scroll saw. I can cut it with all kinds of stuff. But precision and accuracy, there's just like quite a lot
Mm.
of margin. So I recently got a laser cutter.
Ooh.
And Deborah, I look like a coal miner most days. Like I am covered in soot. I smell like I've been down in the mines. Like it's messy. It's messy.
Oh, I love
And
it.
what's interesting about cutting books, and they're all from the recycling center, of course, is that we've got layers of paper or card, like a
Hmm.
cardboard press, mat board.
Right.
And then there's glue in there.
Yeah.
And then there's book cloth. So it cuts much differently than wood. And in my experience, a great example too is I cut a piece of wood on my bandsaw the other day and just right through the bandsaw it went. And then I cut a book into a book strip and it took me longer. It didn't just go through like the fiber, the pulp, like it's just a completely different experience. So as I've been cutting books into shapes, one of the things that happens is the laser will cut down through a few of the first layers, but not all the way through unless I slow down the laser and increase the power, and then it burns the top of the paper.
Mm.
So it's just this dance, of like
Yeah.
trying to get it figured
Yeah.
out. So my compromise has been that I turn up the power, speed up the laser, get through like 3 layers, but then I have to manually pull the pieces apart. So it's
Interesting.
not right. So I don't just cut it and pick it out. I cut it and then I have to separate it. And that's where I'm just getting full of soot and making a mess. But anyway, the point I'm trying to eventually get to is that I love this exploration into all of the things that I can do. And the learning curve is much greater than I thought it was going to be. And like I was hoping that I just like wapow right onto a solution, but no.
Yeah.
And I think that because I'm a little bit older and because my kids are grown, I feel patient, which is new
Mm.
for me. I feel patient in this process. Like I don't know everything. I didn't open the
Yeah.
box and have an immediate solution. Like there's a learning curve here. And I'm so, I guess, at peace that I don't
Mhm.
know it yet and I'm
Right.
not frustrated. But that feels like a life skill. This is new Joleen. This was not old Joleen. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm loving that because what I'm hearing is that you are in the flow with the
Yes.
truth of your
Yes.
experience. And also, like you said, you're a different person than you were before. And so
Yes.
this person is responding obviously differently than she would have before because that other person isn't who she is anymore.
Right. She's
So
not here. Hmm.
yeah, that person is a picture on the wall somewhere. Like
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
who, I mean, it's an amazing thing because you were able to just like, so for me, like my language would be accessing really the truth of who you are in that moment. And
Right.
then having this wonderful experience with it of like, because somebody else might have got really frustrated with that because it didn't go, like, oh, I
Right. It
want this to
wasn't
be the
fast.
way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
how I identify with progress, right? Like I'm making progress. I'm
Yeah.
not maybe getting the solutions that I'm seeking, but I think that like as an artist, for me, this has been the biggest nugget of wisdom is that the more I practice and play, the more creative I become. The more I practice and play, the more I certainly learn. And I love that as an artist, I identify that I am also a student. You
Yeah.
know, I'm a
Yeah.
student always. Like, as much as I've been
Yes.
doing this and as long as I have been, there's still such great, vast room to like
Right.
learn.
Right.
You can't fill up. Like, you can't ever hit the top of the cup.
Never ends. And I love some of my mentors, like teachers that I've learned from
Yeah.
over the years. You see them, like, you see the arc of their
Yeah.
expertise and their development. And like, if I had met that teacher 10 years ago, I would not have been interested in them at all.
Sure.
But because they've evolved and changed over the years, it's like, ooh, like this is my entry point when they're in their 60s, because I'm loving what they do and I
Right.
want to learn more about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that you're saying that, it's one of the things about creativity that I think I love the most is in
Mhm.
being an artist, is that again, it's unlimited. There's
Oh, yeah.
possibilities and mediums that this whole, the idea of mixed media, you literally can't. And I love that it is so playful, because we can say, well, I want to try putting in copper tape today and see what
Yeah.
happens, right? Or like, you're going to go out to your workshop.
Right.
I'm
Right.
just going to take a piece of scrap wood and see what
Right.
happens with this, right?
Right.
And like that you're modeling that for your kids, and now
Yeah.
they're using that language, thriving, it's
It's so funny that you said that, because just, I don't know, 2 days ago, I can't remember, one day ago, again, my friend Barb, she was talking about an art journal, and she was like, well, that's just, I can't remember if she said drywall tape or joining tape or like, something. And I was like,
yes.
Barb, that's awesome. Like, of course it's drywall tape, like, and of course it's in an art journal. That's brilliant. Or
Well,
you saying copper tape, or,
yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
garbage we're
Well,
going to find on the floor and then
I
throw
have
it in there.
spackled journals,
Yeah,
right? I've spackled journals, absolutely. Like
I
if I've
love it.
painted a wall and I have some Benjamin Moore paint left over, yes, I can put that in my
Nice.
journal. Why not, right?
Nice.
Any and everything.
I did make so I have a lot of resin molds
Yeah.
and molds, and I used uh what's the stuff you squeeze? It's hard to squeeze in the tube. Caulk. I
Oh,
used
yeah.
caulk to fill up the molds, and then I kind of tapped them all down, and then I cooked them in like an easy bake oven, because
I love that.
because
The
I
good
thought
old
that,
easy
like,
bake.
I thought resin is just too expensive, so I'm gonna try a different way. And there's air bubbles in it and all kinds of pock marks and
Yeah.
stuff. But like, I was
Yeah.
able to sculpt it around a mirror, and it's not my most refined work. I'll put a picture of it in the show notes, but it's
Good.
hanging in the bathroom of our yoga studio, and I love it. But
Right.
I love too that, like, you know, the mixed media nature of what we do, boy, there's a lot of room in there. Like, you can really, go down on different branches. And I think that's like the best part. But I was going to say, you reminded me of when you were talking about um, process and like finding artists maybe a little bit later in their journey, and how like we're all continually learning. I
Yeah.
was going to ask you if you have ever seen that has it happened to you, even in a piece? Because it's happened to me. I have this piece called Cerebral. I'll put that in the show notes too. But I took discarded books, cut them on my bandsaw into various depths. And then I soak them in water. And once the paper is in water, it kind of blooms. And then it's malleable, and I'm able to sculpt it into different shapes.
Sure.
And as I look at this piece now that it's dried and assembled, I can see where I started. I can see my technique. I can
Yeah.
see, how I was forming these shapes. And then as you get to the other side of the piece, you can see how
Yeah.
it's much more intricate, and the pieces are so much more connected to each other. And like the pieces at the beginning, like, and maybe it's just because I know it's like, oh, I'll try a little squiggle. And then over
Yeah.
on this side, it's like completely meshed and intertwined into the next piece next to it. So I was just wondering if that's happened to you. Like, you see how you grow and change even in the project you're working on.
Constantly, I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah, constantly. And also, one of the things that I do that I think maybe I think I was already headed in that direction, but who gave me more confidence to do that is, I'm sure you've probably heard of her because she's a mixed media artist that is prolific. Roxanne Evans Stout. Have you heard of her?
Yes.
So she's like one of my favorites in our field. But what she taught me to do is not to go from of the cover to the end of the cover,
Okay.
just to go within the book. So like I'll
Okay.
start tearing pages. Like I told you, I'll start stitching. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
stitch in the front. Maybe I'll stitch in the back. Maybe because like
Oh,
I don't
so
have,
jump
right,
around. Yeah.
jump around. So, but I can within those pages see kind of where I was at with some
Yeah.
materials, for example, like you were talking about,
Yeah.
and then like my response to them. And like I can remember even like this one journal I showed you about the unexpected journey of when I went through sort of the more
Mm-hmm.
early on, because with a healing journey like you with your year of like it's a long time, so you
Yeah.
go through different phases, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember when like I could only barely walk around my bedroom and do walking meditation. I couldn't even, the only thing I could do was like stitch a pair of pants and do French knots, because I was like, that's all I can, my brain can't handle anything else. I'm
Right.
going to French knot this thing to death because that is
Yeah, because that's
therapeutic,
what's
it's
working.
rhythmic,
Yep.
that's what I can do. But I remember, because I still wear those, they're these really cool pair of overalls and there's flowers. And so just the
Oh,
little centers did I French knot,
yeah.
and I was like, I remember that. But like to your point about, where you're at in a process and how you can identify with like, oh, I started here, but look at what it turns into
Mm-hmm.
over there. I think that that's part of the thing that's so cool about being an artist or creative is
Mm-hmm.
you have to kind of, because there's something tangible
Mm-hmm.
that isn't like proof or whatever, shows sort of like, oh, I remember
Mm-hmm.
that phase, or I remember what I was
Yeah.
happening when I was making those or whatever. So that's a story in a story, right?
Right. Oh, definitely. And
Yeah.
yesterday, I bet you find this interesting. Yesterday, as I was scrolling through my social media feed, I came across this woman. I cannot remember her name. I will connect it. I'll find it because I saved the video. But she said, if you meet a creative who isn't creating, you will probably have met the most insufferable person.
Yeah, absolutely.
She kind of went on
Oh,
to say, if
oh.
you are a creative and you are not creating, you are probably quite insufferable to like other people. And her point is that for those of us who live in this space, it is an itch that if it doesn't get scratched, we are not whole.
No,
Is basically what I took away
absolutely.
from that. But
Yeah.
I think with our feral creative,
Nature. Yeah, that's
I
us.
also see something about, I'm sorry, I'm insufferable. I haven't made any art today. Who wants to buy one? Let me know.
Do it. Do it. I'll be first in line for sure.
I feel
And
like it's just an identity, it's like a brand identity for some of us.
it
Oh.
truly is. And
Mhm.
like I said, it's just part of our nature.
Yes.
It's just part of our nature. And some people, and sometimes I feel sad for them when I hear a woman who says, well, I'm not creative. I'm like, oh
Right.
no, you know what? We need to have a talk because
Yeah.
everybody is creative. It's just, you haven't understood yourself as that because you're thinking, well, I can't paint a pretty picture. And that
Right.
has nothing to do with creativity, in my opinion.
Right.
If you can't draw
Exactly.
a flower that looks like a flower, or if you can't draw a pretty face, that doesn't mean that you don't have creativity.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's like expanding that. I love to be a
Mhm.
myth buster. That's like one of my favorite things. It's like
Definitely.
busting that myth. We are busting it.
Right.
And so
Agreed.
many other things like, well, I'm not intuitive, I don't. I'm
Right.
like, no, that's another one. You truly
It's
are,
just
you just haven't recognized what that means.
I think it's practice too. I think that it's
Yeah.
also and look at my friend Lisa. She's ordering a mug. And we also had some help from Barb. The book I was referencing earlier is called One Color
There we
Day
go.
Sketchbook, a daily art practice and visual diary. So
Nice.
Barb turned me onto it, and then I gave it to Georgie because I kept with it for 4 days. But I
Yeah,
think it's a great idea. It's a
it
super
is
great idea.
really
So,
good.
oh my gosh, Deborah, would you believe we are almost like time
It's a
goes
blur.
so fast. And there are a few other things that I have to absolutely get to because they're like favorites here at the Happy Time Craftcast. And so, if you don't mind, I'm going to
Go.
abruptly switch us over to that so that we can, get to know you even just a little bit better. And, you can answer with one word, you can elaborate. It's completely up to you. I like to start with an easy one, but sometimes I'm surprised that this question isn't easy. So,
Okay.
let me just say, do your best.
I will.
So, what is your favorite word?
Well, right now, I'm
Yeah.
going to say, because that, can
Yeah.
change moment to moment, I'm going to say unlimited.
Oh, that's a great word.
Yeah.
I
Kind of
love
fits
that
in with
word.
the mixed media
Yeah,
world, how my brain works.
I
Life
love
is
that.
unlimited. Yeah.
I think that those words, favorite words too, are situational, environmental. They could change on a moment. Like, I completely agree with you. Um, I am going to say that my word is forgiveness. Um,
Mm.
and only because, like my children are adults and it is very unusual for us to ever have any conflict, because everybody's a grown
Right.
up.
Yeah.
But I had a little bit of conflict with one of my kids recently, and it was strange, I think, for both of us because we don't have conflict.
Yeah.
But we both apologized and offered such gracious forgiveness. And I'm just so grateful that we
Yeah.
have the tools and the words and that we got there. And I think with forgiveness, you also buff out the sting, you know,
Mm.
like he hurt my feelings, I hurt his feelings. And then when we got to forgiveness, it's the balm, that buffs out that
Yeah.
sting. So,
Yeah.
so that's,
Bust out the sting. I like that phrase.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on
Very true.
fire today. My whole t-shirt line is like, it's like happening.
Done.
So then on the other end of that, do you have a least favorite word? Maybe
Oh
even
my
today?
gosh. Least favorite words. Now, see, that one is going to be tricky.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Let me think for a sec. My least favorite word. Um,
Mm.
well, there's a lot of language in New
Sure.
England that is particular
Oh,
to New England, right?
sure. Regional dialect. Yes.
Right. So we have a
Yeah.
lot of. So one of my husband is a Bostonian. So
Okay.
if you ever heard him speak, it's a completely different
I
language
would have to pay
to.
attention probably, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So um, it's not that I hate the word; it's just like how the word is said, like "ka." So
Oh,
anything with an R,
yeah.
that doesn't exist, that bothers me. Say your R's, people. Pronounce your R's. So it's not a word, but it's a
A sound?
language thing. Yeah. So don't tell me you're driving a car because I don't know what that is. It sounds like what a crow
Oh,
does. So I know that has nothing to do with anything, but that's kind of a thing for me.
I could
So like,
see that.
like that's no,
I don't judge
no.
that, Deborah. I don't judge that. Like, that's a thing that makes sense to me. I get that.
Okay, good.
Because on my last episode, talked about how my son calls me bruh or bro, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know you're a
That's
grown man, but it's mom, mommy, mother, or mama, like any one of those. But it is not bro or bruh.
Yeah, fair,
It just makes my
fair.
skin crawl. And I
Yes.
think it makes my skin crawl just because it's just an overused word, like when he uses
Yeah.
it with his friends, I'm like, now that would be appropriate. But with
Right.
me, it just,
Right.
ugh.
Yes.
And I
One
also
hundred
think
percent.
it's almost like it's a habit. Like I don't even think he
That's
knows he's
right.
saying it. It just is one of those that's kind of in his nomenclature. And so everybody gets the delight of being a bro or a
Yes.
bra.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get that.
Here's on to the one that is probably the most important to me because we have this show like right at lunchtime. Deborah, what is the best kind of sandwich?
Well, okay. So this time of year, because
Oh,
it's
yes.
summer,
Seasonal.
there's right this, and again, I may be saying this different than some people, but there's a sandwich that's very simple. So it's
Okay.
a sourdough with
Yep.
tomato,
Yep.
balsamic vinaigrette, a
Ooh.
good one,
Yeah.
a little olive oil, salt, pepper, basil, and like the freshest mozzarella you can find.
So like a caprese
It
sandwich.
is that. Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
In the summer, that's like
I am
a
with you.
tasty treat.
my chef husband sometimes makes these skewers of like
Yeah.
cherry tomatoes and a little bite of fresh mozzarella, and then it's like wound up with a basil like
Mhm.
sleeping bag, and then it's like, and then it's
Roulade.
like, yeah, and then it's like dipped in balsamic. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be inappropriate to count the number of those that I could put away. It's just so good. Oh yeah, you have inspired. Our tomatoes, like, we're not quite there yet. It's a little too early. Like, we don't really have a lot of tomatoes yet, or at least I should
Mm.
say my neighbor who I get them from
Yeah.
hasn't brought over. Because one of the things that we're going to do here on the farm, I'm so excited, is we are putting in a stockade so that we can keep our garden safe from predators, like all of the deer and raccoon and
Right.
all of the fun little creatures who live on my farm.
Yeah.
Because we've tried all the home remedies, and like our dog isn't that kind of dog. Like people, when animals come on the property, he's like, "Yo,
Oh, hi.
you want to come in? You
Yeah,
want to
come
play?"
over.
But no, I'm agree. Today it's going to be the caprese sandwich. I think I'm going to have that for lunch. I wonder if we have the ingredients, Darren,
Oh,
if
I
you're
hope
listening.
so.
So, do you believe that animals can be scary? And if so, do you think there's one that's more scary than another one?
These are fascinating questions.
They're so
Fascinating.
serious.
Oh my gosh. I do not have any fear of any animals. I don't.
Awesome.
Now,
That said,
if we're talking about insects, I will not go to
Oh,
places like South America because,
right,
when a spider is as big as my skull, I'm not going to that place.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So animal, no, but insects, yes, definitely a yes.
So, I live in southern Minnesota.
Yeah.
I live really close to Wisconsin and really close to Iowa. I'm just right down there in that little corner. And we had a friend of our property out the other day, and she is in my hometown. And this woman looked me dead in the eyes and said that she has been dealing with rattlesnakes. And I was like, excuse me, what? Pardon, in Minnesota. Like, what? And she's like, yeah, because we're in the driftless region, and the driftless is like the glaciers passed us by. So we have all of these beautiful limestone bluffs. And she
Mm.
was like, yeah, I've got to be careful when I'm out collecting eggs because we've had some rattlesnakes. And I'm just like, but we live in Minnesota. Like, this is why we live here. Like, we don't have scary things like that. And I'm
The
like, so
old
now,
Minnesota.
right. So now when I go out and collect eggs, I got to be also looking for rattlesnakes. Like, no, ma'am, I did not. I
I
did
didn't
not.
sign up for this.
Right. Like, I don't know, like a venom or an antidote. Like, is that a thing I got to have in the first aid kit now? Like,
Now you're gonna have to ask your neighbor. Okay, so what are you doing about that? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, and of course,
Wow.
my scientist engineer of a husband is like, I really think you're worrying about a thing that you don't need to worry about. And I'm like, Papa, that's 1 degree of separation. Like, that's a person that we know
Right,
in our
right.
community. Like, if it was 6 degrees of separation, then maybe, but this is
Yeah.
1 degree.
We
So,
might need to
um,
reconsider this. Fascinating. Yeah.
right, exactly. Well, I have to tell you too that in our comments, we've got friends who know my dog, and they're saying that he hurts people, not animals. He does. He likes
I
to
can see the
he likes to
comment.
round everybody up for dinner, and he like takes his job as the director of hospitality at Big Raven Farm very seriously, very seriously. Okay, all right.
Oh,
So
that's
now,
good.
how about this one? So, Deborah, you are an artist and an intuitive and a master of so many things, meditation and Reiki and all those things. But in all of it, like, what does it mean to you to be an artist?
Gosh, I really feel like it means um, being who I really am. And, everything. That's like the core. Everything
Mhm.
can come from that. Yeah, core.
It feels authentic, right?
It does. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the real of the real. The
Yeah.
real of the real. Yeah. It means I get to be feral on a daily basis. Yeah.
love
The
that.
word of this is
I
the
love that.
word.
Do you think our t-shirt should have a cat on it? Like, should it maybe be like a cat and then it should be like feral creative or something?
Do it.
I'm
Yeah,
taking notes for those of you listening on what you want this to be because I can see it. I can visualize it. So it's totally got to happen.
I love
Um,
that.
so what about this one? Is there
Mm.
a sound or a noise that you love?
So many. I wish I had my phone. I could show it to you. My son, who I call Man Cub,
Yeah,
and I went north, which means going to New Hampshire for the 4th of July weekend. And
sure.
so we went out to the woods, and there's this one place we love to go. We call it the Fairy Woods because it's moss is everywhere, and it's so alive and such a sparkly place. But it's an easy hike, and when you get to the end, there's a waterfall, and we always sit by the
Mhm.
waterfall and just listen, and it just completely grounds you. Like anything that's bothering you just disappears. It's just such a deep reset. So I love that. But I love
Mhm.
the sound of wind chimes,
Yeah.
the sound of a crystal bowl. I love
Mm.
the sound of Man Cub's voice. I
Yeah.
really do. Right. So
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
I have a few sounds I love. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I love the sound of my kids' laughter, especially
Yeah.
when I'm not involved in it. Like if I,
Yeah.
from another room,
Yeah.
I love that sound. Um, I I'm having a little bit of a push pull with I got a set of tenor wind chimes.
Mm.
You ever experience these? So like they're much bigger. The tubes are really
Oh,
big and they're really long. So
yes. I love those.
yeah, so
But no.
well, so instead of it being like a light tinkle or a bling,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
more bling.
Yeah.
And
You can feel it
when
through
they
you.
are kind of blowing during when I'm teaching yoga, I can't tell if that is distracting, if we also have like music in the studio, like in a way, because I'm also one of those folks who's overstimulated by too many sounds at once.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's
Jury's out. Jury's
jury's
out.
out.
Yeah.
Jury's out. They sure are beautiful. They're beautiful. But I did notice that we had a guest on the farm recently, and I think it must have got too much because they took them down and they were sitting on a chair. So, okay, message
Got
received.
it. Yeah.
They're a little, in your space. Like I get that. I get that.
Yeah. Those need to be like at the labyrinth or,
Right.
kind of like on their own where,
Yes,
yeah. Yeah.
yes.
They get the proper
More to
credit they
come on
deserve.
the tenor wind chimes. I'm
Yeah.
so sure. Because if they're too small, I hate it. I don't like the tinkle
Insignificant.
sound. I like the more,
Yeah. Yeah.
boy, I seem like I'm so hard to please, but I'm really
Not
not.
at all. No, there's a right sound for each situation.
Right,
I'm with you. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
have you ever thought about like a different profession? And if you had
Mm.
to pick one other than the one you're in, what would you like to attempt?
Well, one thing I love is travel. Now, do I have to be a travel agent? I don't know. Maybe a guide, like take small
Yeah,
groups of people to really cool places. I
that'd
think
be
because
cool.
there's just not enough time for all the traveling I would want to do.
Yeah,
But specific kinds of travel, like I just don't want to go like anywhere. I want to go
right.
to like certain places that are special. Like, so I guess I don't know. Maybe I would be a travel guide. I like
Yeah, I
that.
could
Yeah,
see that. I don't
yeah.
know if travel agent is even a job anymore.
I
Like, I don't
know.
know. Like, do you
Yeah,
go talk to a person about a destination? Like, I don't know in the age of the internet and all that, but I could see the benefit of like the places that you love and like
right.
sharing that love with other people, how that could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
so cool.
I think so. Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you have one?
Um, so I say welder a lot. I'm highly accident prone. Like, woo, like I am. My husband just started a board in our kitchen, in a chalkboard that says, days since last incident. And like
For you?
for both of us, because he's always like nearly cutting off a finger in the kitchen. And so he was like trying to like keep track. And my number is actually higher than his right now because I haven't been, wielding any knives or doing anything like that. But my family is not on board with the whole welding idea. I watched my friend Tammy, who's a welder. She's an art welder, and she makes these amazing
Yeah.
commemorative, like memory pieces. Like, here are all my dad's tools, and my dad passed away. Can you like build me something that like,
Wow.
yeah. And
Incredible.
she's so good. She's so good. And whenever I tell her, I'm like, I wish I could do what you do. She's like, you can. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no. I
You
did
might be
make a
tempting
journal where
fate
I don't
just a
have a
little too bit.
hospital,
Yeah.
but I still dream about it. I dream about it.
Fair.
Is
Fair.
there one then that you're just like, nope, not me. I could not do that.
Oh, um, you know, I don't think as much as I like to think about like being a healing presence or person for
Mhm.
people, like I could not do that in the medical world. So like I
Yeah,
couldn't be a nurse. As much as I love
yeah,
nurses, some of my best friends are, I
me
don't
too.
think that I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Um, our daughter is in healthcare. Some of my best friends are ER nurses, and I
Yeah.
just,
It's
I think
intense.
they have different DNA. I really
I
do.
do too.
It's
Yeah.
like it's their patience and their skill and
Yeah.
their ability. Like my friend Paige, she is a reader of people. Like
Mhm.
she can call BS at like 20 paces. I think it's because she sees a lot of it in her line of
Yeah.
work. And
Sure.
so like her barometer, like I 1000% trust because I'm kind of gullible. And she'll be like, "Nuh-uh," and I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good
All
to know."
right.
No, I definitely could not
Yeah.
do what they do, and I'm also too my heart I wear my heart on my sleeve,
Mm.
and there's no putting it back in, like, it's always out. It's always exposed, so I need to do things that are more protective, I think.
Yes, I get
Mhm.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Yeah.
All right, one last one for you.
Yeah.
So what about this? So, our show is about happiness, and you've certainly brought plenty to me today, but I'm wondering what brings you the most happiness?
Mhm. You know, I would have to say it is. This might sound weird, but it's
Oh,
being in the like what we're doing, just being in the presence of other people experiencing life fully.
mhm.
Whatever that is for
Yeah,
them. And it doesn't matter what age or what stage. It's just like them being in their space and just being able to witness that magic is.
yeah,
I love that. I love that. It can be this, like, I don't need the bells and whistles. I just need the simple beauty, the
yeah,
simple things, and that's one of them. you
yeah.
know I
I
work at
love
a library at night, a couple nights a week, and there's this little guy. I'll just say this real quick, and his name is Charlie, and he's 4, and Charlie and I like love each other. So when he comes in, hi Deb, I'm like, hi Charlie, and we'll have a great talk. And so just the simple things like that. I love.
I
I love
love
it.
that. I love that. My youngest son is Charlie, so that right away, like,
Oh,
because I mean, I hear you. I hear and identify. I think like what brings me the most happiness, and let's put those wonderful children of mine over here. Like, yes, without saying, I love my family. I love my kids. You guys are awesome. In addition to
yeah.
I love my role as a person who hosts retreats.
Mhm.
I love people coming to my home. I love taking care of people. I love seeing the connections that they make. I
Yeah.
love I love the look on their faces when they eat Darren's nummy food and when they have like this holistic experience of people who genuinely care about them and want the best for them. Like I honest to goodness look around sometimes and I'm just like this is my job. Like
Right.
I hit the jackpot. Like I am so lucky that I get to do that.
Yeah.
Like I have a home that can, accommodate that and a business and lifestyle where that all kind of comes together. And it is so magical and rewarding. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's a package,
Yeah.
You've created a beautiful package and tied it up with a beautiful ribbon, and it's all yours to open every day, right?
Oh, I know. It's the best. And not
Yeah.
without challenge because it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have to ask you something before I let you go. So you do have something coming up for our listeners, yeah? Like an
I do.
opportunity to work with you. Could you tell us about that?
Thank you so much. So It's called Magical Monthly Messages, and it's
Okay.
coming up. We have a few spots left on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. starting, I think it's the 16th of July, and it's
Okay.
Zoom, it's live, it's recorded. So if you can't
Awesome.
make it, it's okay. If you
Okay.
can make it, all the better. But what
Okay.
happens is we get together. I offer intuitive messages to each person for the month. So it's like a forecast for the month for each person,
Okay.
and then I pull
Okay.
a card for them. And it's amazing because it starts out being something I give them, but then they take it and run with it over the course of the month. And it helps them to develop their intuition, helps them to plug into what's going on with them day to day. So they're, even though they might not think that this is what they're doing, they're developing their own connection to themselves, their intuition, to what's happening in their lives. And when we come together as a community, as you know, it's so cool
Yeah.
because they all start to bond, and things that might be a message for someone, it's like, oh, well, I could really relate to that. So I'm
Yeah.
going to take that and use it too. And so it's this wonderful, I love working with women. I primarily work with women, but when we get together, it's pure magic. It's everybody is like so supportive of everybody else. And I think that right now women need to like have their own intuition on speed dial. Like they need to be really plugged into themselves. And so this is a great kind of opportunity and acceleration for them to enjoy
Oh,
that. So yeah, they can sign
Deb,
on. They
that's
can check out more,
awesome. Okay.
on my
And
website.
we will be sure to put that in our show notes
Yeah.
so that people can find it super, super easy. And that's very generous of you. Thank you so much for inviting our community to participate in that. I will make sure that it is easy for them to find.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time today. And I mean, open to our awareness is the slow stitching, using the awl or the paper piercer,
Yeah.
embroidery floss on paper, graphite watercolor,
Yeah.
and slow stitching as a part of art journaling. Just
Good stuff.
so many good ideas. Thank
I
you.
hope they use it. Thank you for
Oh,
having me. It
I'm
was
gonna
a
use it.
pleasure.
Oh, and alcohol ink on fabric. Like, let's not forget about
Yes.
that. Like, so
Yeah.
many lovely nuggets today. Thank you.
Awesome. So
And
welcome.
for those of you joining us today, thank you so much. I love you all so much. I do hope you will join me on July 16th. Tammy Murdoch is going to be with us, and Tammy is a Canadian-based artist who loves exploring many styles and mediums, from urban sketching and art journaling to embroidery and sewing. So Tammy will be with me
Nice.
on episode 56 on the 16th of July. So thank you all so much for your comments. There's a couple that I can't let you go before I share them. Kathy Baker is from Texas. And when I was talking about snakes, she was like, maybe somebody from Texas dropped one off and she was here recently. Kathy Baker, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. Oh, and then she follows it up with, I'm the best hostess. Well, dear, you are the best of
True
friends. So
that.
thank you.
True that.
Right. All right, Deb, thank
Oh,
you
it's
so much. And
great. Thank
everybody, we'll see
you.
you next time.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.